Hello and welcome to the video tutorial on how to measure the health and maturity of any team or your entire organization. My name is Jamison J. Mannion. I'm the author of the Workforce Engagement Equation. Today I'm going to demonstrate the use of the TheWEQ assessment engine. We'll discuss the reports. I'll show you how the data is collected. When we're finished, I'd encourage you to reach out and schedule an online demonstration. So let's get started. When we think about organizational health and maturity, we tend to think about how the organization is formed. If the individuals make up the organization are all focused towards a common goal, if they are doing things that are going to keep them relevant and growing in this ever-changing environment. And so what we've done is we've looked at about 50 elements that are essential for an organization to be effective. In these elements, this assessment tool will help you determine where your organization has potential gaps or opportunities to improve. And so we look at when you first get an organization together, you form the group. They come together, and there's three things that you really got to try to accomplish in the forming stage. You've got to establish people's trust, you've got to help them understand the vision or the direction where you're trying to take them, and you have to help them understand what's in it for them. And if you do that well, then you can start to focus their activities. You can start to focus what they're working on and start to define their roles and responsibilities. You can help them understand who's going to be doing what and when, how the resources are going to be applied, solve any problems that come up. And then when that happens, you're going to start to see people's commitment start to increase. And commitment is something that you can't just demand from somebody. They've got to give it to you. And so when we look at commitment, that is the elements that people are confident, they understand what they're trying to do, and they move from the me to the we. And then once you have that commitment, you've got to sustain it. You've got to get your organization sustaining its operations by standardizing its procedures and policies and having an ongoing discussion with the customers and any kind of stakeholders and participants. And then if you continue that, then you've got to renew it. You've got to continually process improvement and keeping ahead of the curve in competition. And in addition, as you form the organization, people are going to want new opportunities. You're going to want to have opportunities to advance, ongoing training. And you're also going to want to have new people coming on board, and other people are going to leave. And how do you keep the organization going? And so there's 5 assessments that we look at. First of all, let's go back and we'll look at the overall reports. Now in the assessment engine, when we look at this, there is the dashboard when you first log in. And then you can look at the assessments, or you can look at reports. So let's go ahead. We'll look at reports. And we have 3 different types of reports. The reports are what we'll call a composite matrix. Combined report, which looks at each individual stage, and then the assessment history. Now all of the assessments are completely anonymous. We will not know who said what in any of the assessments. All we'll know who took the report and how long did it take how long did they spend taking the assessments. And that sometimes is quite instructional. So if we look at this, we'll see that Brant hasn't. Now anytime you want to reduce this sidebar, just hit the little hamburger stack at the top and the sidebar hides. We can look at this and we see that Brant has hasn't taken the report yet. But we'll see that Bianca has taken a few minutes. These assessments don't take a lot of time, no more than usually 8 or 9 minutes. But if we see that somebody takes less than a minute to take an assessment, then you have a pretty good indication that their level of engagement's probably not there and their input's probably not as valid. And so that's all you're going to know, is you're not going to know what they said or how they graded it. You'll just know who took it and who didn't, and how much time they took in thinking about the assessments. Let's look at this composite matrix. The composite matrix, select a company. This is just your organization, you're not responsible for other organizations, you're going to just see your one company. If you are using this as part of your portfolio of practice, you would see all of your client companies that will be listed. We can look at a specific date, or we can look at all of them combined. So let's just go ahead and look at this company's overall assessment, this matrix, and what we'll see is these 50 elements. The 50 elements, 10 per stage, 5 stages. So we'll see that under the forming stage, first thing in forming element 1, and you put your cursor over any of the numbers, you can click on it. Now the numbers are going to be plus 100 to minus 100%. Plus 100% means that everybody believes that it's either well established or at least moving in the right direction on that element. Negative 100% would be not done well or consistently, or completely absent. And so here we see 45% felt positive. This is setting a clear vision. Now this tool available on any platform. So you can use it on PC, you can use it on Mac, you can use it on your iPhone, you can use it on Android, Samsung, whatever platform. So this first element, setting a clear vision for the organization. And again, we talked about forming. You can't form a group without a plan, what the goal is. And so we might just be talking about a project plan. So if you're a project manager, you might use this to say, how well do people really understand what the project's about? Or you could look at the overall organization and how well individuals are aligned to the mission. Again, also as we go through this, I want you to look at setting a clear vision, and all of these elements are cross-referenced to the book, The Workforce Engagement Equation. So that's why this was geared to be a practitioner's guide. And so it's 600 pages long, or about, and you're probably not going to sit down and read it cover to cover, though many folks have told me they have. But it was really designed to be a reference guide, so that when you have this assessment, you can then say, setting a vision, turn to page 38. It talks about your value proposition. There's a value proposition worksheet. And so when you think about this, well, just for instance, how well is your value proposition? If you were to have your elevator speech, ask anybody in your organization what the value of that organization is, what would it be? Take a minute, write down what you think the value proposition of your organization is. So in the back of the book, there's also another aspect I want to talk about, a CD. And the CD has templates. It has templates that can be used. They're Word documents, so for setting a value proposition. So for each of the tools or elements that we talk about, there are templates that can be used in the book. You can use the book or not use the book, but this is really geared to be a practitioner's guide. So we look at this and we say element 2 of stage 1, 0%. So that's senior leadership involvement. Are initiatives appropriately prioritized and sponsored by senior leadership and our staff with people that are able to make a difference? Or are the initiatives not having adequate senior sponsorship? Or are those responsible for implementing initiatives are doing it in addition to all of their other work, and so this is not a priority on whatever they're working on? Again, page 42 of the book, you can refer different thoughts on that. The book is not designed to give you an exhaustive list of everything about it. When we talk about Six Sigma or Lean or 5S or conflict resolution, it gives you a good overview, and then we encourage you to go seek out other sources if you want to know more about it. We look at the overall tool, this matrix. We are looking at the general health of the organization, and we're seeing how well it's been formed, then the focusing side of it, and we look at the level of commitment. We look at how well people feel the elements of sustaining are occurring, how well the overall renewal process is going. Also, the book and in the back, there are project plans that talk about how to achieve each of the stages. So the assessment tool is geared to give you a general overview of the organization, big picture on a single dashboard. And so it's kind of like if you go to a doctor and say, I don't feel very well. Say, okay, well, let's look at this. And so you're thinking about this and saying, okay, so there's some elements here, but there are some concerning elements. You know, negative 11%, negative 22%. Here, this is stage 4, element 2, ongoing goal setting and revision. So on this element, there is a sense that the development of goals is more of an administrative exercise than really a process that engages people and focuses them on their mission. Then as we look deeper here, we see that the renewal stage, there's a lot of negatives associated with the renewal stage. The renewal stage has elements that include performance reviews and reward system. The training is a strategic priority. And this one, negative 76%. Negative 76%, significant, is proactive succession planning. So here, the organization feels less like succession planning is performed in a proactive and effective manner. It's more succession planning is rare, and crisis staffing is the norm. So if you think about your organization, if some of your key contributors and key team members decided to, won the lottery tomorrow, would you be able to replace them? Would the organization keep going without missing a beat? Would you fall? Would you stumble? Would your customers notice the difference? So these are some of the things that you think about. And you don't have to be a huge organization. We've had organizations as small as 4 or 5 that have used this to think through how they're going to grow. We've used it for project teams. We've used it for large organizations. Now, each one of these assessments, reporting, can be also broken down into the overall groups. So when we look at the entire corporation, what we see, the company, and then all of its sub-teams. Change the names of the sub-teams so that maintain confidentiality of our client base. So we look at the overall organization. We can also look at it based on a time frame. What we do is you can use this for beginning of the year, set goals, determine what you're going to work on, and then mid-year you can, after you've tasked individuals to work on certain projects, how well have they been received? How well has that been done? Let's just look at January to April. We'll see that this report has some variations. Again, go back to the hamburger at the top. You can see that there has been some improvement. The elements of succession planning. Some people feel that there's been progress made. We can now say, let's just take it from April 16th to the present. Let's just take it to today. And I'm doing this on June 15th. Now you see more progress that for some of these elements, and you also can see some of the has gone backwards, and that's not uncommon. We can also look at individual subteams. So let's just look at one of the subteams. And so on the subteam, we see that there is some significant differences from the overall organization. And we look at this with that subteam, we see some pretty profound gaps. And so you see the department, you see the 2 subteams in the department, and then you see some fairly significant gaps. We also, let's just say, well, let's just look at the individual teams, And based on those individual teams, we see this individual team with significant gaps. And I will share with you that this manager in this department, viewed as a tough but fair manager, but he was really effective in meetings with the executive team. It was the kind of individual who would kiss up and kick down. And only when we did the assessments did we realize what a toxic environment this individual had established in his own department. So when he was put on, brought to his attention, but again, this is data from every single person in the team that gives this anonymous feedback, and you can see the power of it to be able to diagnose what's going on in specific areas. So the next set of reports combined. So let's just go ahead and look at the combined reports. What you have to select, say we'll look at forming. What is great about these reports is it gives you everyone's view to the parade. So here, 73% felt that the mission's vision was, the mission was clearly defined, but 50% is split. Initiatives are appropriately prioritized and staffed. So 2 felt that it was done really well, 9 felt it was moving in the right direction, 9 felt that not done well or consistently, and 2 felt it was completely absent. And so what this does is, as you assess your organization, you'll be able to drill down and find the individual view to the parade, so to speak. You may feel that this is done really well and effectively, just like in that one department. You felt overall the organization was great, but when you looked at the behavior in any given department, then that created some problems. These reports can all be downloaded as PDF or exported to Excel, broken down by teams, subteams. It can also be by date. So it gives you lots of ways to look at the overall health and organization of your team. And now that we've looked at the reports, let's look at how the data is gathered. To get back to the data, you can go back up to the dashboard by either selecting the WES logo or the little silhouette symbol on the sidebar. And when you select that, it goes back to the dashboard. And the dashboard, as we saw at the beginning, has to take assessments and reports. It'll also show you the history of the last reports you took. So let's go to the assessments. There are 5 assessments. 1 for each of the stages: forming, focusing, committing, sustaining, renewal, that we used earlier, these descriptions, to talk about them. Select whichever assessment. You don't have to take them in order. You can take them, any order is fine. It takes about 5 to usually no more than 10 minutes per assessment. So you can take all of the assessments. You don't have to take them all in one sitting, but you will have to take and finish an assessment if you're in the middle. If you're in the middle of an assessment and bail out of it, it won't save that. And so let's go ahead and select focusing. Now, if you are developing a team or a project plan, it is beneficial to do the project plan in the back of the book, and or use your own project plan, and then do the assessment after that stage of the project, and it'll help you find if you've navigated the stage well. If you're got an existing organization or just want to kind of do a baseline to get set for the entire organization, then take all 5. And so depending on how the assessments are being used, they can be used as a diagnostic for existing organizations, or they can be used to gauge how well a project's navigated that stage to move on to the next project. So we're going to take the assessments. Let's go ahead and take the focusing assessment. And when you look at the focusing assessment, it again, this is available on any platform. You can use it on smartphones or tablets or PCs. You can zoom in and for easier reading, where you can get them side to side and then look at the project, look at them two together. You'll see two statements, one for effective and one for ineffective navigation. And you read the statements and you decide which one is most like your organization you're thinking of. So the vision and mission and value proposition are clearly defined and articulated. The strategic goals and initiatives are clearly stated, widely understood, or the overall direction of the organization is unclear. Now, if you have this sidebar, that means you can scroll up or down within that because there's more text beyond what you can see. The statements are designed to be rather comprehensive. We don't allow you to have split the middle and say undecided. You have to choose either effective or ineffective. And because this is not geared to be statistically accurate to the nth detail, it is designed for practitioners to get a general pulse of the overall organization. And so you read both statements, you decide which one's like you. So it's like, yeah, we've done pretty well with this vision, so I'm going to select this. Now, if you select the other, you can only choose one. And once you choose it, you just scroll down to the next. So element 2, systems are well designed and function, increasing productivity, or systems are ineffective and misaligned. Say, well, our systems, they're probably not as good as they could be. So then next is, those responsible for executing the work or have significant input and involvement developing the mission and systems and processes, or the leader in the mission vision does not include the input from those closest to work. So fully formed goals are broadcast from on high. And it's like, oh yeah, we didn't have a lot of discussion on our goals. We were just told what to work on. Or the well-defined organizational structure and the group equitably parses out the work, or reporting relationships and structures are unclear and it's not sure who gets the work and it's not seemed to be divided up fairly. So if you aren't sure, again, choose one side or the other. As I said earlier, all of this data is anonymous. You won't know who said what, but you will know who took the assessments or not and how long it took them to take it. And clearly, by reading these pairs of statements, there's 10 statements. If someone completes it in less than a minute, they probably didn't spend a lot of time thinking about it. They just went through and click, 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 click. So team members understand the mission and are gaining commitment, or the overall direction and ultimate mission of the organization is not shared. So you read each of these statements and select it. You have to select a response for all 10. If you choose not to make a response, it will give you a warning and say, please answer all the questions. So once you've selected, the final one here is individuals treat differences of opinion as strength, or conflict is not constructive and is frequently more about member egos rather than achieving the organization's mission. And so you select it and then hit submit. And that is it. So there's a total of 5 assessments, 10 assessments per stage. And when you go back to the dashboard, it'll tell you when you took the assessment. So that is it. That's how we gather data. The way we recommend you do it is to provide everyone in the organization a chance to provide feedback, not just senior leadership, because you can't get a view to everyone in the parade. We also don't allow people to say not applicable. And the reason that is even if you're the most junior person, you should have some understanding of quality control or audits or how decisions are made. So if they feel that they're not even sure if that exists in their organization, that too is quite instructive. Learn more at TheWEQ.com. Contact me to schedule your demo at jamison.mannion@yourwest.com. Mention this video and receive a free trial. I look forward to helping you do more with Wes.